You remember the McDonald's Monopoly game, right? Peeling off those little stickers, trying to collect all the properties, dreaming about winning that $1 million prize? Well, for over a decade, millions of us played along, all of us hoping to find Boardwalk. But what if I told you that for most of that time, the game was a total lie? What you're about to hear is an unbelievable story of greed and a $24 million lie right at the heart of one of America's favorite games. Let's just start with this number, $24 million. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the total value of all the major prizes that were stolen, not won, stolen over a 12-year period. It's an absolutely staggering amount of money, just siphoned away from this huge promotion. And here it is. This is the bombshell. From 1989 all the way to 2001, the big prizes. We're talking the $1 million jackpots, the fancy cars. They were practically impossible for you or me to win. And why? Because somebody was stealing them before they ever even got close to a box of fries. So, you gotta be asking, how does a game that millions of people love become completely rigged? Well, the answer isn't a flaw in the game itself, but a huge flaw in the one person who was hired to protect it. The entire scheme, all $24 million of it, it all hinged on one single guy. And in a twist of irony that is just perfect, his entire job was to make sure the game was 100% fair. The person we're talking about was the security auditor. This is the professional who's supposed to protect the game, make sure the winning pieces are totally random and secure. They are supposed to be the final wall of defense against any kind of fraud. And, well, there it is. The auditor was the thief. The man hired to protect the game's integrity was the very person who completely destroyed it. The fox wasn't just guarding the henhouse, he was systematically emptying it out. So let's meet him. This is Jerome Jacobson, known to pretty much everyone in his network as Uncle Jerry. He was a former cop who landed a job as the head of security for Simon Marketing, the company McDonald's hired to run the whole promotion. And that position gave him exclusive, totally unsupervised access to every single high-value winning game piece. Now, you're probably imagining some kind of high-tech, elaborate heist, right? Not even close. His method was shockingly simple. Whenever he was transporting the winning pieces, he'd just duck into an airport bathroom, carefully steam open the supposedly tamper-proof envelope, swap the winning ticket with a dud, and then just meticulously glue it back shut. Nobody ever suspected a thing. But here's the thing. Uncle Jerry couldn't claim all the prizes himself, right? That would look a little suspicious. So to cash in on all these stolen tickets, he needed a network of fake winners. And this is how a one-man crime just ballooned into this massive, nationwide conspiracy. It all started pretty small. He gave the first stolen pieces to his family and friends. But as his greed grew, so did the operation. It expanded to acquaintances and then to professional recruiters who would go out and find total strangers willing to lie for a cut of the prize. And eventually, believe it or not, his network even included members of the Colombo crime family. This quote from the actual investigation really puts the whole thing into perspective. For over a decade, the public was playing a game they just could not win. Every time you saw a new millionaire on TV, chances are they were just another part of Uncle Jerry's sprawling conspiracy. And the cast of characters in this network was truly bizarre. I mean, it wasn't just hardened criminals. We're talking mobsters, self-proclaimed psychics, strip club owners, and just dozens of otherwise normal, ordinary people, all of them pulled into a felony by the promise of easy money from good old Uncle Jerry. Of course, eventually, the FBI got an anonymous tip, and that's when everything started to come crashing down. They launched this massive investigation, and they gave it a perfectly fitting cinematic codename. But this was a really unique challenge for the investigators. I mean, how do you prove a conspiracy when everyone's story is simply that they got lucky? How do you crack the case when you have dozens of people all across the country telling the exact same lie? The FBI's solution was pure genius. They decided to lean right into the winner's greed and their ego. If these people wanted to be famous for winning, the FBI was more than happy to give them their moment in the spotlight. And this was Operation Final Answer. Undercover FBI agents posed as a TV production crew. They told the fake winners that they were being interviewed for a big McDonald's promotional campaign. The winners, of course, were thrilled. They sat down under these bright lights and told their made-up stories on camera, basically handing the FBI these beautifully recorded confessions.
This slide just shows you how brilliant the trap was. A winner would be on camera, all excited, saying, "I couldn't believe it! The winning piece was right there on my fries." Meanwhile, the FBI already knew from wiretaps that that same person had actually paid a recruiter $50,000 in cash for that game piece. It was game over.
So, with all the evidence gathered, the case was ready to go. But the story's final chapter is marked by one of the most incredible, unbelievable coincidences in modern history. The FBI takedown was massive. Dozens of people all across the country were arrested and indicted. The fake winners were forced to pay back all the prize money they'd stolen, and many of them, including Jerome Jacobson, served time in prison. It seemed like justice was served. But this timeline, this is what's so wild. It reveals the historical accident that basically buried the story. The news of the arrest broke on September 10th, 2001. It was front-page news everywhere. But just one day later, the world changed forever. The McMillions scandal was instantly erased from the public mind, and it became a forgotten piece of history. In the end, the story of Uncle Jerry is one of pure greed and opportunity. But the story of his network, that's maybe even more unsettling. It forces us to ask, why were so many ordinary people willing to risk everything, to commit a felony, just for a piece of the prize? And it makes you wonder, what would you do if you were faced with the temptation of a life-changing lie?